Right here up next, folks, I'm going to be diving in officially to the case of Abel Elias Acosta, a actual serial killer of at least 3 teenagers in East Texas. It's disturbing because it is proof that parents can also be charged as accessories when it comes to or concerns capital murder. So it makes you think of certain things, especially with these recent lawsuits flying around regarding Christopher and Roberta Laundrie and the Brian Laundrie case with Gabby Petito. So look forward to that. I will also be diving into with some of the key official tidbits in the new, very recently filed Gabby Petito lawsuit, so you can learn just some of the key takeaways from that and what this means going forward as more and more facts open up. Also in that video, I'll be reading a few more tidbits from the new lawsuit that was filed recently that I was a part of, that will be going on basically after April 7th. It'll be starting up to really get that officially being underway. But that's been kept, I've kept that out of the news while certain things develop around that. But I'm going to be reading some key snippets and key evidence reports and things from that actual suit itself as well, since that's opening up a lot of key issues, especially around the Kylan Schulte case. So I'll have keywords in that you'll be able to tell it relates directly to Schulte quite easily. But that's important, so I'll be going over that. But this is the Elias Acosta case, and you're going to learn exactly why our laws really need to be totally redrawn in certain states, because parents who assist in a robbery like that, I think this was at a Texaco station, is what we finally find out. But parents who assist in any kind of a real murder, anything like that, they have to be charged as accessories, no question. And then, of course, we need the jury to do their actual job. So thank you. Much more to come. Stay tuned right here on JTC channel. This case is about a 14-year-old serial killer named Abel Elias Acosta. He's from East Texas, near the General Dallas area. And it says a lot about him. It says a lot about what he was willing to do to drive home his point. A man accused of driving his son to and from Dallas area gas stations and convenience stores, where the 14-year-old is accused now of fatally shooting 3 teens and wounding a 4th, has been indicted on capital murder. The Dallas County grand jury on Thursday indicted Richard Acosta Jr., age 33, on a charge of capital murder of multiple people. He remained in jail on $3 million bond. Acosta's son, Abel Elias Acosta, was on the run since December 26th shooting in Garland, Texas. Police have charged the teen again with capital murder, warning that he is armed and also dangerous. Richard Acosta surrendered to police the day after. Killed in the shooting were 14-year-old Xavier Gonzalez, 16-year-old Ivan Noella, and 17-year-old Rafael Garcia. A 15-year-old cook who was new on the job was injured at that same time. Barra News said on Friday that the injured teen has since been released from the hospital and is doing fine. Well, he needs to be behind bars. And his associates, those that he was working with directly, need to all be behind bars for this horrible, horrific crime. You can imagine, when you're 14 years old committing crimes like this, it's unfathomable, unbelievable, to say the least. And when this finally gets to the original state government, it gets to the assembly government over there in Texas, which it will, there's going to be a lot more charges. for all those who were the accessory to this, which includes the corrupt officer, includes all the different officials in the state government, includes everybody. They're going to seriously take cases like this apart. That's why, the original government, especially in places like Texas now, has been removing the old quote-unquote government, because these horrific things are finally going to be dealt with. Killed in the shooting were 14-year-old Xavier Gonzalez, 16-year-old Ivan Noyola, and 17-year-old Rafael Garcia. So 3 innocent teenagers were killed and gunned down by this 14-year-old mass murdering psychopath, essentially. And we're going to look at the other, because this is a very interesting case and it deserves some careful review. We're going to look at this. Thank you. The Dallas County Grand Jury officially indicted Richard Acosta Jr., age 33, on the charge of capital murder for multiple persons, and he remained permanently in prison on $3 million bond. Acosta's son, Abel Elias Acosta, has been on the run since December 26th. Garland Police Pedro Barreno said Friday that the authorities do not have specific information telling us where the shooter was or where the father is. Richard Acosta surrendered to police a day after the shooting. His lawyer, Heath Harris, has said his client didn't know his son was going into the store. Killed in the shooting were 14-year-old Xavier Gonzalez, 16-year-old Ivan Noyola, 17-year-old Rafael Garcia. A 15-year-old cook was also seriously injured for life-threatening injuries. Barreno said on Friday that the injured teen has since been released from the hospital and is doing well. We all know, though, that there was a lot more to this, for sure. Abel Elias Acosta, a Texas teen, is now on the run from the police after killing 3 people inside a convenience store in what police call a targeted revenge assault. The incident happened at a store in Garland in the 700 block of West Walnut Street on a quiet Sunday afternoon. The shirtless suspect, now identified officially as 14-year-old Abel Elias Acosta, walked into the store, pulled out a gun, and shot at everybody. While one victim was seriously injured with life-threatening injuries, the other 3 passed away immediately. Police say all 4 victims were teenagers. So it's fascinating to really examine this. Abel Elias Acosta was a serial psychopath. He had borderline traits of a serious type. And he just walked into a store like this was nothing to speak about, like it was no big deal, and just ended up doing these horrific crimes. The victims who did not deserve the fate they received were really not more than 2 years older than Abel Acosta in most cases. If Abel Acosta is found guilty, he could spend life in prison without any parole. Or more than that, if the public government finally starts up fully in Texas as it needs to, he could get the death penalty. So, very fascinating and a very important story. Just to recognize what's truly going on in our society and what happens with these younger, impressionable, dangerous killers. These people who have no business being out there. We're finding out all the time. Abel Acosta, armed and dangerous. The reward is increased for the Texas triple murder suspected in the shooting of 3 teenagers who is now out on the lam. Garland Police on Wednesday announced Crime Stoppers has also increased the reward to $10,000 for information that leads to the arrest of triple murder suspect Abel Acosta considered armed and dangerous. 14-year-old was charged on capital murder and was accused of killing and shooting all 4 teenagers. Because I believe the 4th one also died. I'll have to check that, but he was involved basically in the assault on all 4 inside a Garland gas station on the day after Christmas. So everyone who was involved in this needs to be criminally charged as well. And now that Texas has their original state government back and has started putting in the full docket for public law on basically everything throughout Texas, you're going to see a lot more criminal charges on everybody who was involved in the Abel Acosta shootings, because it's just horrific what happened here. Police said Acosta walked into Texaco at the 700 block of West Walnut and opened fire on everyone. Police said the boy's father, Richard Acosta, was seen driving his son to the store on December 26th. The father was also indicted as being the getaway driver, so thankfully this is a case where both of them have been charged with capital murder and accessory after the fact type of murder. And I can tell you right now that I wouldn't be surprised with other cases, knock on wood, such as the laundry case in Florida, that this type of thing happens a lot, because the original state national government is getting set up and they're clearing everybody out of there who's been in government before. So there's going to be a lot of charges. I would recommend there probably be criminal charges on pretty much everybody who was. Plenty more to come is what I said with this. So I want people to be aware of that, because it was absolutely a horror to see when Abel Acosta went in there and just started shooting, killing literally everybody in the store. So there's going to be charges, and in the situation in Florida with laundry and so on, there's going to be plenty of more added additional criminal charges beyond what anybody recognized before or believed would occur, because the state national government has gotten set up again finally in Florida as well, and they're just about done cleaning out the entirety of the government that's over there. So there's going to be a lot of criminal charges. Don't be surprised in the Gabby Petito case that come out as additional after the fact accessory on Roberta and Chris Laundrie, Stephen Bertolino, and just all of these criminals who are there in Florida. And that kind of takes you back to 9/11. 9/11 was interesting, and the Abel Acosta shootings remind you of kind of the aftermath of the September 11th attacks. Police described Abel Acosta as a light-skinned Hispanic. Doesn't matter what their race is. The point is, these murders are absolutely horrific. And to see them like that is absolutely a horror. And it's good that in this case, everybody got charged, including the parents of Abel Acosta, especially, him in this case. But there's so much more that has to be done. And examining this case has really opened up some interesting pathways. Thank you. Drove him to a convenience store. Richard Acosta drove him there, where his son, Abel Acosta, age 14-year-old, went into the Texas convenience store and shot and killed all 3 teenagers. Richard Acosta is held on a $1 million bond, which is now $3 million. Garland, Texas. He's charged after being accused of driving the teenage son to a convenience store. They don't ever say what convenience store. That's what's interesting. That's all going to come out. Guaranteed that will come out. This is a horrific incident. Richard Acosta is held on a $3 million bond while they continue to search for Abel Acosta, who was accused of killing all 3 teenagers and apparently even another victim. Richard, who was originally... So this is very important. kind of dissect this. Richard was originally thought to be the getaway driver and turned himself in. Because it's rare you're going to see something like this. Richard Acosta, age 33, and they tried to hide this many times, is held on $3 million bond for driving Abel Elias Acosta to a Texaco convenience store. So there they finally admit it's the Texaco convenience store. When we look at the profile of someone like Abel Acosta, we see really some of these psychopathic traits, these traits of what you would consider a serial killer. And so it's very interesting then when you read the report and look back over this, that could certainly apply to other cases in recent situations, including the Gabby Petito lawsuit, for example. Did Chris and Roberta Laundrie, did they know that Brian Laundrie was exhibiting these characteristics, exhibiting these traits? And indeed, if they did, that's something only the original state government in Florida can also answer. If they did know, then they need to be charged as accessories, and so do the corrupt officials involved. Likewise, have to be charged as accessories in the crimes that were committed. There's no question. And I'll be going over some of those things. But when we look at this, this was horrific because Abel Acosta just walked in to a Texaco station unannounced and started shooting, basically murdering at least 3 victims. And then he just walked out. And apparently they didn't know what else was going on until you look at the fact that Richard Acosta was charged by the grand jury then for capital murder, to realize that this was all planned, was pre-planned, kind of like a mini September 11th in East Texas. So at the news conference, they said Xavier was at the store ordering food at the time Mr. Acosta opened fire inside the store. And it's tragic because, folks, he gave no warning. He just walked in. It was like me or you walking into 7-Eleven and just automatically opening fire on people. I mean, yeah, some of these crimes are pretty horrific and pretty tragic, but all the same, it's just unusual. And these are all questions that have to be answered and will be answered by the jury, by our original state government, by the people who know there are real answers to these questions that we need. And they waited for him to come home, and Xavier, of course, never showed up. Police Lieutenant Pedro Baranao said that the father knew his son was planning the massacre, so this was premeditated. Mr. Acosta had apparently pre-planned this as a premeditated action. He had been to the Texaco station earlier, had been there before, is what it alleges many times. And the 14-year-old boy who was not identified also helped Acosta kind of plan these murders. So, this is quite a story, and I'm linking it in the video. I want you guys to get it out there far and wide. We need, as a community as a whole, we need to know more and more about teenage killers. What drives them to do some of the things they do. And this would certainly be a textbook example. This is another case that a lot of people are not aware of. So be sure to spread the word. As always, subscribe, like the videos. Together, we are able to solve these crimes. Abel was described by police as a light-skinned Hispanic. So apparently they didn't catch the original Acosta yet. They're still trying to find him. And he's there as a fugitive in East Texas. So if you find out anything more on this case and so on, please update us. We want to get the answers out. That's the most important thing. That's why this channel is here. Thank you again.